Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Radical Love with Ainz and Lex.
I'm Ainz.
And I'm Lex, and today we're just going to keep on going with the Sermon on the Mount series.
Keeping on, baby. You know inertia.
They're back to Bill 9. And now the other 2 episodes are actually out, so you can listen to all of them at once. So if you are now listening, this is our 3rd one. So if you haven't listened to the other 2, go back and listen to this first.
Hit them up, lads. We're going through the next section of Sermon on the Mount. Yeah. Matthew chapter 7, verses 15 through 20.
Yes. We're taking it bit by bit because there is so much to talk about with each.
So much content. Low-key, I feel like we almost rushed. Not almost. I do feel like we kind of rushed.
Last week was crazy.
Last week was... We bit off more than we could chew. That's all I gotta say.
We definitely
I think it was still good. And we move on.
Yes.
We move on.
Okay, but as we always do, Rosebud Thorn. Do you want to go first, Ainz?
Sure. It's been the new thing. So now, like, it used to be you do Rosebud Thorn.
I know.
I go first. My rose, it's honestly been a really, really great week. So, Saturday, I'll just give you an update of all the things that I had planned last weekend. Saturday, what did I do Friday? I don't remember. Nothing. I had like a movie night with my friends. That was fun.
Oh, that's sweet.
Then Saturday was Pigtostal, the big Darty moment. Okay, I am the only person I know who has said this. Like, most people had a blast. I really did not have very much fun. I know, so disappointing. But like, the weather was beautiful. But I just like overall, I did it. It was fine, but like, I don't know if I would like do it again. So
Okay.
I did it though. Big tradition. I feel good that I did it. But yeah, there's my hot take of the day. And then I didn't even go to the game because I was just kind of like over being social. So I like went home and ordered Five Guys with Jill. And then I showered, took a nap, and went to GGL formal, which was a freaking blast. It was so fun. It was so cool. It was so fun. I just love everyone in that program. It is awesome. It's one of my favorite things about Notre Dame. It's so special and it's cool. Like, it's class, it's work environment. I guess it's both of those things, but the people I've become friends with through it are so great and like some of my favorite people. And it was so awesome to be with everyone. Especially those people, like, we don't all get to hang out now that we're not in class together anymore. So it was fun to get to do it again. Then on Sunday, my friend became Catholic, so we had his whole like I honestly don't even know what it's called. That's bad of me, but like he got like confirmed and got his first communion on Sunday.
Yeah, is there a word for that?
Special
for that all in one day?
There probably is.
Oh yeah.
He did like his first rites. I don't know. I think I might be making that up, but yeah, it was so special. And so he was one of my theology friends, and so like our whole class, like not our whole class, but like a big group of us all went to the mass and then just got to like talk with him and celebrate him. And in the campus ministry building, they had little desserts and lemonade. And
oh my gosh, that's so special.
It really was. And I don't know, like theology, if you're not in it, a lot of people are like, oh, what are you going to do with that? And it is like, depends on the person, but some people really don't appreciate it, which is valid. I mean, there are majors that I'm like, oh, I would never do that. Why would you do that? But I do feel bad for everyone at Notre Dame who doesn't get to experience theology because it is so awesome. That program, like, I mean, that department is just so great. Like, it's just so special. Everyone just wants to be there. And I feel like you don't get that in every major. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm doing this because this will get me a good job, or I'm doing this because I feel like I should do this. But like theology, you're not going to study that unless you want to.
Right.
And anyways, every time I'm with those people doing something like that, just get to fall in love with it all over again. And I'm really, really grateful for that. So that was cool. And then on Tuesday, I had yacht dance with my friends.
Woo-hoo!
So it was, the boat took off like from Navy Pier. So we were in Chicago.
That's wild.
We got to have a few hours to like walk around and get dinner beforehand. It was so fun. It was such a blast. So overall, like, just a really, really great week. So fun, really good times with a lot of friends. So like different assorted friends too, like all quality time with a lot of different people. And then Thorn, I would say just like also a lot of homework to do. So that's kind of rude. So I had 2 finals today. And then I have 4 next week. So it'll be a long stretch here, but I'm already
crazy.
2 done. So that's like really exciting. And then my bud is, after this, I'm going to have Chipotle with my roommate, Emma.
Oh, so amazing.
And watch Mulan. So excited for that as
well.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
This is a side note because you were talking about the theology department, and this fits in perfectly. So Caroline, my roommate, her boyfriend, he's started to go to the Catholic church at Georgia Tech recently, like the Catholic Center. He went to daily mass with a friend the other day. He's just like been really vibing. I can't believe I show that word. He's been vibing with the Catholic church, like, but doing like so much studying about it and like reading these books. Like, it's just like really impressive, like how intellectual he goes about it. And like he loves, just I guess like the historical sense behind it, but just also like seeing like where it works in with the Bible. And I told him the other day, Ainz, that you were studying theology at Notre Dame, and he was blown away. He was like, that is the coolest thing. I wish my major could be theology. We don't have it at Tech that I know of, at least. There's no way we would. And so it was just like really cool. He was like, that's so cool. I was like, yeah, y'all would have a great conversation. You guys would be friends.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. It is cool.
Yeah.
And good for him. It's hard to like stay active, like in questioning and searching and stuff during finals. So man who I don't know the name of. Good job.
Will. There you go.
Will, my king.
Yes, but okay, my rose for the week. It started out as kind of a bad story. What
this happened? I just remembered your phone story. I was like, because I feel like that was kind of like a rose. Like you were like, it's a rose and a thorn, and I was like expecting a really chaotic story.
Yeah, it's not as bad. But I don't have a car, so Riley so graciously lets me take her car places, and I had to run to make an Amazon return, and all I know is like I had to go to Whole Foods to make the Amazon return, and then I had to go to Publix to grab some things. And I like get out of the Publix parking lot and I see like yellow on the side of her car, and her car is blue. And I was like, whoa. That was not me. I did not do that. I am parked next to 2 other like big blue trucks. Like there was no yellow car beside me to like sideswipe me here. I know I didn't hit anything. I was like freaking out. And I was like, okay, maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's just pollen. I don't know. Like I'm in a really dim parking garage. So then I get back to my apartment and it's still there. And I was like, oh gosh.
No.
And I like called my parents and I was like freaking out. And they were like, well, clearly you hit something. And I was like, I would know if I hit something. Like it would have been obvious. Moral of the story, it was already there.
I know. I was like, what? Where did it come from? Okay, so that's good.
Yeah. And then my dad was like, well, how didn't you realize? It was because I had 2 gigantic Amazon boxes that I was holding. Like literally one was like resting on my chin so it wasn't falling off. So when I got in the car, I didn't see it because there was so much going on.
You weren't thinking about it.
Right. But then the actual rose of this story is that, my dad, he's so wise. But that day, he'd called me on the phone like after we'd already talked, and he was like, Lex, like you worry too much. Like it'll be okay. Like think with your head. Like we'll figure this out. Like whatever it actually ends up being, like it'll be fine. Like why are you getting yourself so worked up? Like let's think practically, yada yada yada. So then the next day I get a text from him, and we don't text on the regular. That's just like not our vibe. And he sent me a picture, and I didn't see the picture at first. Like I just saw the text, and it was like, I was reading this today and I thought of our conversation yesterday. I thought you'd really enjoy it. And it looked like a daily devotion. Didn't know my dad was into that. And it was, I'll find the exact words of it. But the very first thing was a Philippians verse about not worrying. And then it was the whole thing like going through like why we shouldn't worry, and like where it says in the Bible that like God like will have your, take your burdens. And I was just like sobbing in absolute tears. I could not keep it together. It was titled An Antidote for Worry. And then the verse was Philippians 4 verses 6 and 7. Do not worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. Then you'll experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. So yes, I was just in tears. He still doesn't know that I was in tears, but I was.
The hidden impacts of his words.
Yeah. So then obviously that was also my thorn. And then, like you said, like it's final season. So I'm just a little bit stressed. I had a sticky partner situation for a group homework project assignment. It worked out fine, but like,
oh, good.
I, have let some people walk all over me when I shouldn't. But yeah. And then my bud, like, I'm going to be in St. Louis in 6 days. This is wild. I cannot. It's crazy. Finals are almost over. I start my internship in like a week. And my mom's coming up with me to drive up and spend Mother's Day. So
that's so fun.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah, I should add that on to my bud as well. Because I'll be there too.
Yeah, she'll be there a day after me. I can't believe I'm be there a day before you. That's also wild.
That is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
You have to tell me like how the dogs are, how the house is, how the world is treating the Lou.
Yeah, it's gonna be so fun. Everyone's gonna get to see content of Ainz and I like actually together. What?
I know. It is weird, like because we've been like, I don't know, like long distance friends now for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember high school. Not to be dramatic, I just like don't remember. Like
I don't either.
I don't remember what I did. Like what did I do with my time? I wish I'd kept a journal. This is why I wish I'd kept a journal, not because it's good for your emotions. I mean, I guess that too, but like really, I don't remember things. Like I wish I had kept note of them.
Yeah, me too. I definitely agree with that.
But
okay,
before we get into the meat here, Lex, do you want to read it?
Do you want me to read it? Oh gosh, so much pressure. Okay. Woo. Okay.
Yeah, I had to pounce on my opportunity.
Okay. Matthew chapter 7, verses 5 through 20. 15 through 20. I'm already butchering it. It's fine.
She's too nervous. Everyone, don't look at her. Don't look at her.
Okay. It says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorns or figs from thistles? In the same way, every good tree bears good fruit, but the bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will know them by their fruits.
Hungry. No. I'm just kidding. It's a good one. And at least this time we're not bouncing around like 30 different. I felt like last week there were like so many things to get through, but today we can just sit back, relax, and
just dive in.
Just do the fruits, man. So okay, Lexi, you said this was your favorite section.
It is my favorite section.
So tell me more. Tell me more.
It seems so basic. Like reading over it.
That is the beauty of the Sermon on the Mount.
Right?
It's like all of this, right? That I feel like we've said that each time. Yeah.
Right. Like it also, like, I think reading things out loud is different. Like when I've read over this before, like, it's in my head. I do talk to myself a lot, but like reading this physically, like out loud, it sounds just so basic and like, duh, if you surround yourself with good people, good things will come of it. If you surround yourself with bad people, you're going to fall into bad habits and vices and yada, yada, yada. But I just think I love it because it's direct. It's to the point. It's not beating around the bush, or in this context, the fruit trees. And I did not think of that one before. And I don't know, I just think it's so applicable to like so many different things. Like you can, like we're going to go into like so many different things that it applies. Like for me, it applies to like my church hopping, but it also applies to like friend groups and like role models. And I don't know, I just think it's really cool. And it also, like, everything in the Bible causes inward reflection for me. So,
Yeah.
I like it.
That's huge. I agree. I think for me, like when I read over this, the part about the false prophets is like scary to me because I'm like, well, if they're coming in sheep's clothing, how am I supposed to know? Like, because I tend to be like I'm a very trusting person, I would say, and I try to be very open-minded. So no matter if someone's like has a good track record or a bad one, or if I think their opinions are good or bad, I try to like listen and learn and like gain some sort of knowledge from any different perspective. Obviously, like that's not always the case because I do have my own like biases and agendas. But yeah, so that's kind of difficult for me because I like to, even if like in terms of a Christian life, for example, like different people on like Instagram, which I know sounds silly, but different influencers I really like, they could be super against religion or against like something that I find really important, but their message on, for example, like body positivity is really important for me. And sometimes those things, they may seem separate, but then they like come together. And I think it's just like the whole point of this passage to me is realizing like it's not always super obvious. Like you want to say like, oh, like everyone will recognize a wolf in wolf's clothing. Also, don't mind how I say that word. Like you'll recognize them if they look like it, but I think that's the scary part, is like not knowing which people are good for you and are leading you in the right direction and stuff. I don't know. Some people really like can lead you astray.
Oh, definitely. No, what you said exactly like embodies how the like the church hopping / like me, you know, figuring out what church is right. Because at first, like I would go to church and then like I'd get so excited about it because just like in my head, I was like, oh, whatever, you know, these pastors are preaching like has to be accurate. It has to be true, you know, and I just like kept thinking that like over and over and over again. And so then I was like so torn even more because I was like, what place is going to be the right place for me? And then once I like took a step back, it was like, yeah, I don't know if they're actually teaching like what is in the Bible. And not even to like an extreme sense of like, oh, this specific line. It's just like, I feel like so many churches nowadays, and like me veering off from the Catholic Church, like some of these places, and again, like I didn't realize it right, like upon first meeting or like upon like one first service, like I wasn't gonna notice. But it's like terrifying that like some contemporary Christian churches nowadays, they believe that like you can do whatever the heck you want and like that's fine. Like, oh, I can do whatever the heck I want because like Jesus always forgives me. But if you're just doing it because you're like, oh, Jesus will forgive me, whatever, like I'm doing, like that's not actually how we're supposed to live.
That ain't the recipe.
No.
At me with reconciliation.
I'm
gonna shame myself.
We're all
for as
guilty
long
of
as
it
I
though.
live to break my bad habits.
Yeah. But I was just so blindly following, like, because I just like saw them as like such an authority figure. But then once I would like look into what they believed, I was like, okay, maybe I should take a step back, you know. Some things are just like things were getting caught in translation. And it's not like those people were gonna like take me away from the church, like those places were gonna take me away from the church. But they just weren't where I was called to be. But it took discernment, and it like took me actually being like looking into the Bible a little bit, but also like having the role models. Because I remember once, I don't remember what exactly it said, but like I was talking to my aunt about one of the churches I'd gone to, and she was like, okay, like because I was like, let me know, like do some research into them because like I haven't really, and like I'm gonna call myself out. I hadn't even looked at their website, but literally upon like first glance of their website, my aunt was like, I don't know, Lex. And then I looked at it and I was like, how did I not
saying?
Even I
don't have to say, but like
I don't remember
I'm so curious
to a T, but it was just like very not things that I stand for. It was just way too like contemporary side for me, and just like, again, we can do whatever we want, like you can't. I was gonna say like a triple negative, and I think that might have gotten like lost in translation. Like, I don't know, you still have to live and do good things and be a good person. But it was just really funny because I was like, I have just been going there and being like blown away, but I haven't even done the research to see it, like what they actually stand for. I was just blindly following.
It's tough. It's hard too, because like that takes work, time out of your day. Like it's so much easier to just be like, here's the sheep. I shall like the sheep because sheep has soft fur, and then be like, OMG, it's wolf underneath. Like that takes some Nancy Drew moments, you gotta find it. But or you'll just know them by their fruits. But
that's true.
Sometimes you have to look for the fruits.
I know. But it's even true, I feel like, in the Catholic Church. Like there have been scandals. There's been scandals like everywhere.
Yeah, and like disgusting ones too.
Yeah.
I mean, like
yeah.
Not minor ones of like, he like, I mean, really bad ones. Yeah, I think that's really the scary part about faith is there's always some sort of church leader. So obviously the Catholic Church has an entire like hierarchy of so many people kind of leading you in your faith. And I know that's something that a lot of people don't like about Catholicism, but really anywhere you go, there's some sort of like pastor, preacher, some sort of leader who really does guide the community. And that's like cool, but also scary because you're like, that's just a person.
Yeah.
And of course they can have like different authority based on like qualifications. Like obviously, like if you're a priest and you're going through like the seminary, you're going to know a lot more about things than like your average church goer. You're going to be far more knowledgeable and you'll have all this training and whatnot. But like they could also just preach on whatever they want. And like that's something that is like scary to me for sure. Is like you don't know what the backing is for it. And what's nice was pro and con of the Catholic Church. I mean, it's not just scripture, it's scripture and tradition. So that kind of gives them like guidelines almost, like here's what you're gonna hear. But then at the same time, if you the catechism, I mean, it's not huge and it's not like impossible to read, but it's definitely, that's an undertaking. Okay, like that's not something I'm just gonna like dabble, like let me read. I could, and maybe I should, but like there are things I don't really know super well, like what the Catholic Church teaches on something. So if a priest were to say, oh, this is what the church teaches, and I don't fact check that, like one, I don't really feel I have to, but two, like when you're in a position of authority, like people can definitely misuse that, even if not intentionally. But that is scary. Scary indeed.
Yeah. It's true though, because we're still supposed to like trust and show respect to authority. Especially because like, again, 95% of the time, they're going to be good people and, leading you in the right direction. But it's just like you said, it's going to take the extra effort out of our day to, double check and, obviously like show people respect, but also like we are human. So like looking to scripture as like that last, fact check to make sure, that things are correct. It was it's reminding me the way like you phrased everything of a question. It was like one of the first weeks of the study, but my aunt and I are like behind. Like we're both on track ourselves, but like our schedules haven't lined up to where we can like go over it. And so last Sunday we were talking and we were going over week 3. We're currently on week 8, if that shows how like, behind we are. Yeah. And one of the questions was like asking about, who do you have role models in your life and people of wisdom? And then the second part to the question was like, but what don't they have that Jesus had? And so it's like, it reminds me of this, of like, there are such great people for us to look for wisdom and everything. But they're also like, we have to remember that these people in front of us are human. They make mistakes. So like,
Yeah, not to like glorify.
Yeah.
I think that's easy to do, especially with like celebrities or like influencers or people that you don't really know that you look up to, because they kind of can be like detached from reality. Yeah, that's huge. I also feel like for me, I feel like this one most closely relates like to friendships. So I'd say in general, like I'd be friends with probably anyone. Like not any, I mean, not actually, like some people you don't get along with, some people don't like me, some people I don't like them, whatever. But in terms of not close friends, but just like people I'd say hey to, people I'd chat with, people I'd get a meal with, pretty much anyone. But I think those people don't have as much of an impact on like who I am. It's more just we chat and it's surface level. I don't think it's that deep. But I think this passage is really huge in like analyzing. I know Lex, like you talked about this too in your notes. I think it's impossible to read this passage and not think about it, but like your close friendships and like deeper relationships, whichever friendship, teammates, classmates, romantic, whatever, really analyzing that, like seeing where people are leading you. Because people can be fun or people can be good listeners. Or they can be someone like you want to be around. But I think you really like, for all of us, like I've definitely had to think like what are these people guiding me to and shaping me towards? Like what influence are they having on my life? How do they make me feel? And I know like, okay, I'm a freaking broken record, guys. Every single episode, I'm like, listen to your feelings. Like you're gonna know deep down how things are. But like when I think about my relationships, yeah, for real. Like I'll just say, I say it because I believe it, right? But like how do they make you feel? Are they leading you like closer to goodness and to God or further away? And like really thinking about your friendships, are they making you like happier? And I know that sounds silly, like, oh yeah, my friends make me happy, but like, are they, or do they bring more like stress and drama? And like, yeah, it's fun, but a lot of the times I'm crying because they're mad at me, or I don't know whether or not like why are they being mean to me? Like why are they acting this way? Why am I acting this way? Like why do I always lash out? Like realizing like, oh, net value, like I'm not really sure this is like a super positive relationship, and realizing like, hey, that's the fruit of that relationship is like negative vibes or like badness. Or when you think I'm really excited to like for other people in my life to meet this person, or are you like, oh, the other people in my life don't really like this person, and maybe the other people in your life are being judgmental or something, but also maybe the other people in your life are looking out for your best interest, and they're like, hey, oh, you're hanging out with that person again, oh, have fun. Maybe that's like them showing something. And I think it's tough, like really thinking about what people are leading you to. And like whether you're coming at that from a Christian standpoint or not, whether you're thinking about like, oh, does this make me feel good? And like, does this lead me to being happier? Not like happier as in like hee hee yay, but like happier as in like fulfillment, contentment. We've talked about this before, like a million times, joy and contentment versus like momentary happiness.
Go back and listen.
Yeah. But then like for Christians especially, like, do you feel close to God? Even if this person doesn't believe in God, are you like, whoa, Jesus moment? Or are you feeling really detached? So yeah, I think just trust your feelings, people. Trust feelings. I think you know deep down. Only you're gonna know. Like relationships, like that's the biggest thing I've realized, like with friendships or romantic relationships, as I've like learned a bit more through my friends and my own like experiences, is like only that person's really gonna know. Like you can say from the outside, like this looks like a blast, or like that looks like absolute dog shite, and I would not want to be a part of that at all. But only they know, and vice versa. Like if you're in that situation, only you know. And I think just like trust it. And once again, it's not always obvious. It's not always going to be like my friends fail all their classes, are blackout drunk every night of the week, and they do coke. It's going to be like,
yeah, it's probably not going to be that black and white.
Yeah, it's going to be like, oh, my friends are just kind of negative. And like I've realized we gossip a lot, which like at myself, like that is huge for me. Or like I realize all we do together is complain. Or when we talk about like religion, it's not ever fruitful. It's just about like talking badly about the church or about things that don't make sense to us. Instead of like having a debate or a conversation or a fruitful discussion, it's just absolutely like wrecking it, So it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, not, wolf in wolf's clothing or sheep in sheep's clothing that are going to be difficult to navigate.
No, I completely agree with everything you said. And I'm blessed to where like the season of life I'm in right now. Like I said it last week or the week before, like I'm at the moment. And again, I'm very blessed that like I'm seeing these things play out in other people's lives. And it is an amazing place to be at because I can learn so much from the sidelines. And I will be the supporter. Yes. And trust me, I'm being the supporter. Like I'm not just like, hey, fend for yourself.
Sorry.
I watch.
No.
Like,
of course, we know you, Lex. We know you.
Thank you. But like I've seen this year, different friend groups and different friendships, and like really good people, but they don't all mesh together and like almost bring out bad qualities in each other.
Yes, that's so real. Yeah.
And so, I've just seen a few people over this year just become slowly but surely like different. Or like just them being more emotionally drained and like you said, negative or, tired, all of these things. And it's just like hard to see that play out, but it does seem to have correlation on like who they surround themselves with and like what's going on in their life. And it's so hard because again, like they have so much fun with each other a majority of the time. That's not always good. So it's very difficult. But something that like I have been able to see recently in my own life, and I am very proud of this in a humble, proud way, of like, I have always been a very type A person. I still am type A with like schedules and like my life is very routine. But for the first time in my life, I've been classified as type B. And
really?
This is so weird. So it was like me and my roommates like out in the kitchen and something came up about Kat. And for those of you who listen, Kat is one of my very best friends at Tech. She's just like the sweetest human being. But she's in a different friend group than a lot of my other friends. But like she's been like coming and like hanging out with all of us. So like it's just like all my circles colliding. And she reminds me so much of Caroline. And I said this. And then we got on the topic of like, because Kat is the most type B person I have ever met in my life.
I met her for like one night and I knew that.
You knew. Yeah. She's so type B. And it was our mission to make you type B. Well, I was like, so then we got on the topic of like type A, type B. And all of my roommates looked at me because we have all these like charts, like our personalities. And they're like, oh, Lexi, you're type B. And I like my jaw hit the floor. I was like, what? I was like, I'm sorry. What are you talking about? No one's ever said that to me. I've never thought that once. And then even like, then I texted Evan and I was like, you're not going to believe this. And he was like laughing hysterically, like that someone called me type B.
I know. Then, I'm like hearing this and I'm like,
right?
What do they see that?
Right?
I'm like, I would say I'm pretty type A too. So I'm not like, oh, Lexi's so type A. Right. But I'm just like, I don't. How are you type B? Did they explain?
Yeah. So then, okay. But then to like further how crazy this is, I then told my parents and they laughed in my face. And then
these are very consistent reactions.
Yes. And they were like, Lexi, it's like, it's your demeanor. Like you just seem so calm and so stress-free. And that is like and the reason like I'm proud of this is because that's like, I am in such a better place this year than I was last year. And so like, my roommates last year, they knew I was a wreck and like with architecture and all the things. So just like be in that place and they were like, you never stress us out, like nothing. And I was just like, whoa, like that's just like a lot of personal growth. And like I do attribute that to like the people I've been around. And like
Oh my gosh.
Kat, she had her mission. And maybe it's because we've been hanging out once a week. We planned it. We hang out on Tuesdays. So like
I love
you know,
having scheduled events with
right?
friends.
Scheduled friend time.
It's
Literally
necessary.
the best. You
It's
need
necessary.
it. Yeah.
We should put like Instagram polls on our story. Say, do you think we're more type A or type B? And then see like if there's a correlation, like, oh, my old teammates would say I'm type A, but like my high school friends say I'm type B or whatever.
That is really, that is good.
Little study moment.
I like it because then like what this all correlated to in our apartment was that it's like, we're all giving ourselves like a type A, like it's like a personality, like internally versus externally. So they see me as like internally I'm type A, but externally I'm type B. And then,
yeah, that checks.
All the things.
It's like socially, you're mellow and
I'm mellow. And then inside I'm like,
she's tense. Yeah, vibes. Felt that.
Yeah. But the other thing, this is side note, but still on like friendships. My aunt taught me this week, and I think it goes really well with like who we choose to surround ourselves with. So she gave me this analogy that someone else gave her. And it's if you like think of like the 5 fingers on your hands, like you are one of them. And then you should have 2 people in your life that are older and wiser that can mentor you. And like you need to press into those relationships. But then you should also have 2 others that like you are the older and wiser person, because you can learn from both people. And like you need all of those relationships, because you can't just like only press into people without like also, getting wisdom and such. So I thought that was like really good to like have the balance.
That is interesting. I feel like we're at a disadvantage being youngest children.
I know. We don't have to like technically, they don't technically have to be like younger. Yeah.
That's fun. I've heard like you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself, the 5 people you like spend the most time with. And this, I feel like that's low-key highly contested, because people are like, no, you're your own person. Like obviously you are, but I do think it like shows the people you spend the most time with. Like, I mean, everyone knows like you pick up their mannerisms, like little things that they say and do, and like habits, personality traits. You definitely like, we're all like little sponges.
That's good.
Absorbing things like osmosis. I don't know actually really the specifics of osmosis, but I think I used that correctly. Like
I think you did.
Bringing it all in and exchanging it. I don't know. I feel like my analogy is falling apart the more I talk about it, since I'm uneducated. But yeah, in general, totally. And having good role models is hard because, like you mentioned earlier, even just going back to the church hopping, it's really easy to trust authority. I have been bamboozled by teachers because I just believe them blindly.
Me too. And then the next year I get a theology class and they teach something different. And I'm like,
no, it's too much. Like there have been times where I was like actually lied to, like as a joke. So for example, an AP GoPo, Mr. Westlake, I don't think he listens to this, but if he does, I will remember the story for the rest of my life.
Oh my god.
We were talking about filibustering. And he was like, yeah, the first guy to ever filibuster, his name was Phil A. Buster. So that's why we call it filibuster. And I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, that is such a random word. And then he was like, just kidding. And I was like, what the frick? Like, you are teaching me. Like, my whole job is to listen to you and to trust you. And also, once you start not trusting a teacher, like once they say they don't know something, for me, that is just straight downhill from there, because then everything they say, I'm like, really? I don't know if I can trust this person anymore. But it just kind of shows like the American school system, at least this is what my Irish advisor told me. So I don't know if this is true, but she said like it is, no, she didn't tell this to me. My professor who taught at Oxford said this to me. Okay, anyways, he was like, American students, more than his students at Oxford, like the kids at Notre Dame. So I don't know if this is at every American school, but it's like at Notre Dame, they just like really listen and like totally like professor, like kissy assy. But he was like at Oxford, it was like way more like they would challenge you and test you and be like, really? And so I'm like, maybe it's just like different societies. Maybe we live, but then also compared to other cultures, we like don't respect authority at all. So there's just a wide range here. So probably, I don't know where we lie on the spectrum, but maybe we just grew up like Midwest Catholic vibe is very respectful of authority and other places aren't. But yeah.
I feel like
don't
it
really know
would
why I
be
said
like
that.
just going. No, but I feel like it would be going with like family dynamics and like culture. I feel like West Coast would be very like progressive in authority, and then like the South, I don't know. I think that's accurate.
Oh, I feel like the South would 100% be like, don't talk back to your
Yeah.
elders.
Yeah. I also should know the answer to this because one of the topics we studied in organizational behavior was on like power dynamics in country versus country, and one of them was on
cool.
authority. One of them was, and I don't remember the answer, so I should know, but that shows that I'm already done with the class.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. So that's kind of it is big though. Like we really trust authority. And once you like say you have a childhood friend and you've always been friends, or even not a childhood friend, but you have someone who like you think you can trust.
Oh gosh.
Like sometimes you can, but you can't like allow people to guide you in every way. Like you need someone different to be like your spiritual mentor or your what do I do? I'm like bail me out of jail. You know, it's like who would you call if you had one call in jail? Like the different people fill different roles, but I think it's just really important to be intentional.
Yeah, no, I agree because we've said that before on the podcast. Like, it's like it sounds controversial as Christians, but like it's okay to have like your school friends or the friends that like you go out with. Like, that is okay. Like again, like you said, as long as like you know what that friendship is, and you're not like looking to them for everything.
That's big. Yeah, I think you just said it all.
Ainz, do you have anything else for us today?
I do not. Do you?
I don't. Look at us. We got it all done. We got all of our points in. We weren't rushed. So good.
Love it. And on that note, have a great day, everyone. Hug, hug, kiss, kiss. Listen to the other episodes if you haven't yet, and tune back in next week for the next episode.
And soon we'll be back together. Hey!
Bye, everyone.